On July 31, 1945, President Harry Truman made the decision to drop the first atomic bomb on Japan. This decision was made in hopes of ending World War II, but was against the values of many of the scientists who had worked to create the bomb. Ultimately, 2 bombs were released on Japan, killing thousands of people instantly and exposing many thousands more to radiation, causing a large humanitarian tragedy. The scientific triumph of the creation of the atomic bomb led to controversy over its ethical use for military purposes. The decision to deploy an atomic bomb left a worldwide legacy that began with the celebration of scientific technology and human knowledge, but led to an ongoing threat of nuclear destruction. At the end of World War I, a continuing ethical debate over chemical warfare became more prominent. During this war, chemical weapons, such as mustard gas, brutally killed many people and left others disabled for life. The League of Nations pushed to end the use of chemical weapons in future wars because of their inhumane effects on World War I soldiers. However, the United States Chemical Warfare Service argued that chemical weapons would ensure the protection of U.S. citizens in future wars. In spite of this argument, all members of the League of Nations ratified the Geneva Protocol in 1925, prohibiting the use of chemical weapons in international warfare. In December of 1938, Lise Meitner and Otto Frisch made the discovery of nuclear fission. Fission is the bombardment of the nucleus of an atom with neutrons, which causes the atom to divide, releasing a tremendous amount of energy. After this discovery, many countries rushed to create a nuclear program, the first of which was Germany. With the advancement of Germany's program, the Allied powers became frantic to create the world's first atomic bomb. Leo Szilard, a Hungarian physicist, first proposed the idea of the atomic bomb to President Roosevelt in 1939 through a letter that was signed by Albert Einstein. His idea intrigued Roosevelt because of Germany's possible threat to the United States. Szilard's proposal led to the creation of the Manhattan Project, the United States' secret effort to develop an atomic bomb. Robert Oppenheimer, a professor at the University of California, was appointed director of the Los Alamos Weapons Research Lab in New Mexico, where the majority of the scientists would work. Although Lise Meitner was asked to contribute to the project, she declined because of her concern over the possible ramifications of the use of the bomb. Over the course of 27 months, 3 bombs, Little Boy, Fat Man, and the Gadget, were developed. On July 16, 1945, the first atomic bomb exploded in the desert of New Mexico at the test site Oppenheimer called Trinity. The results of the test exceeded the scientists' predictions. The bomb completely destroyed the steel tower that was holding it. The success of this test gave the scientists the confidence to conclude the Manhattan Project and bring the bombs to the current president, Harry Truman. In his efforts to end World War II, President Truman was confronted by an ethical dilemma over how to use the bomb. He had the options to invade Japan, drop the atomic bomb on an isolated location, or drop the bomb on a Japanese city. These options led to controversy over effectively ending the war or inciting mass destruction caused by the bomb's deployment. After seeing the destructive results of the Trinity test, some scientists felt that Truman should decline to drop the bomb. The use of mustard gas during World War I had caused a human tragedy, which scientists feared replicating with the use of the bomb. Leo Szilard and Albert Einstein started a petition against the use of the atomic bomb that many of the scientists working on the Manhattan Project signed. Although their discoveries were a scientific triumph, scientists worried that the use of the bomb would lead to a tragedy in Japan and cause future conflicts to be more deadly. Truman formed the Interim Committee, consisting of scientists and military leaders to advise him on the use of the bomb. A vast majority of the committee decided that the only way to end World War II was to drop the bombs on a military target. On July 31st, President Truman told Secretary of War Henry Stimson to deploy the atomic bomb in the most destructive way possible.
I'm thinking that the military and civilian leaders at the time recognized these were hard-nosed guys. We can't do something minor. We can't say no, no, no to the Japanese. We've got to make it hurt. And that means we got to kill people. We got to kill a lot of people.
On August 6, 1945, the first atomic bomb seen by humankind was dropped from an airplane onto Hiroshima. This explosion killed 70,000 people instantly and spread an immense amount of radiation throughout Hiroshima. Along with the direct impact of the bomb, subsequent fires destroyed 92% of the city. Although the U.S. government warned Japan of multiple atomic attacks if there was no surrender, the Japanese government vowed that the Japanese army would continue to fight despite the tragic results of Little Boy.
We have spent more than $2 billion on the greatest scientific gamble in history, and we have won. We are now prepared to destroy more rapidly and completely every productive enterprise the Japanese have in any city. Let there be no mistake. We shall completely destroy Japan's power to make war.
3 days later, Fat Man was dropped on Nagasaki. It killed at least 40,000 people instantly. Half of the city was completely destroyed. Many people affected by the atomic bombs experienced a variety of previously undiscovered radiation-related poisoning that in many cases led to death. In the United States, the Manhattan Project was revealed to the public, and scientists were celebrated for their triumph in creating the atomic weapons. 1 week later, on August 15, 1945, Japan surrendered to the United States, ending World War II. The triumph was celebrated by scientists for future research potential and by President Truman for successfully ending World War II.
There's no fighting back. So not only do you have a new weapon that instantly causes widespread death and destruction, but it also instantly renders the Japanese military obsolete. There's no fighting left. And I think that psychological factor was one of the main reasons why the Japanese finally chose to surrender unconditionally.
Over the next 4 months, an additional 55,000 people in Hiroshima and Nagasaki died from burns and radiation-related injuries. In 1949, the Soviet Union was the next country to test a nuclear weapon. Their test increased tensions between the United States and the Soviet Union, sparking the nuclear arms race. By the end of the Cold War, the United States had conducted 1,032 nuclear tests, and the Soviet Union had conducted 715. Throughout this time, an ethical dilemma over the use of nuclear weapons persisted. Many of the scientists involved in the Manhattan Project formed the Federation of American Scientists, which worked to end the use of nuclear weapons. FAS, as well as many other anti-nuclear proliferation organizations, was formed on the grounds that nuclear weapons shouldn't be used or tested because of the tragedy in Japan and the fear of living with the threat of nuclear war. In 1996, the Comprehensive Nuclear Test Ban Treaty was adopted by the United Nations and had worldwide support. This treaty, one of many to end the use of nuclear weapons, stated that all nuclear weapons testing should stop because its effects on humankind are too detrimental. Many countries have honored this treaty, but there are still disagreements about the ethics of nuclear war to this day. The discovery of nuclear fission led Leo Szilard to suggest developing an atomic weapon to help end World War II. Manhattan Project scientists and other advisors encouraged President Truman against the use of the atomic bomb because although they were proud of the scientific triumph, they realized that its use would cause a devastating humanitarian tragedy. The invention of the atomic bomb opened many possibilities for scientific research, but also began an ethical debate over the use of nuclear weapons for destructive military purposes.
Mother, do you think they'll drop the bomb?